Hey, WeTV, this is Lisa and Stanford, and I am on here to submit my question to SJR, Sarah Jakes Roberts. I am super excited and a little nervous, but thank you guys so much for this opportunity. Thank you for allowing us to, submit our questions. And even if I don't get picked, I know women out there, my fellow sisters, are going to be blessed by it. So just thank you guys so much for doing this. A little bit about me. So I'm a 29-year-old millennial out here living my best life, minding my business, drinking my water, for sure. I also work as a social worker for maternal child health with women on labor and delivery at a local hospital in Baltimore, Maryland. Women that are having babies on NICU, pediatric floors, just helping them deal with life struggles as they're at their most vulnerable place, which is childbirth and child loss. So just navigating that with them. On the side, I also have a women's organization that I founded called War Worth Above Rubies, where women are empowered and uplifted to literally live out God's worth living inside of them, in their families, in their careers, in their relationships. So we have our events, we have our Instagram page, our social media presence. So I do that on the side, but it definitely is a driving force for my life, for my purpose. Besides that, I'm really into fitness, brunching, friends and family, dance, ballet, church functions. So that's a little bit about me. My question for Sarah Jakes Roberts is, how did you navigate, or how did you decide to navigate being in a blended family? What was that transition like for you as you went from a single mother to now being a mom of this beautiful village, this big village? And how was that like? Like, what were the challenges? What were the wins? What were the risks that you had to take that you were probably unsure and uncertain of? And how did you get through that as a woman, being the nurturer, being the one that just holds a lot of the weight when it comes to a family? How did you do that? And how did you do that with your husband? I am a product of a blended family, and so I know how the struggles might exist between both worlds. I saw how my family kind of struggled with certain areas, and I saw how that impacted me as a child, not really knowing what to say. And so how did you bring down those walls and those guards and tear down the stigma that exists with blended families, especially in the Black community? Sometimes I think with blended families, there's unresolved trauma that could happen. And so how does one now heal and move on and recreate something different for themselves, that they don't know, that they're not used to, especially if they're faced with a similar situation of being in a blended family or having a blended family? How would you then advise someone to go about that? So it's a little trifolded. I know it gets a little complicated, but pretty much, how did you navigate being in a blended family, especially as a woman? How does one, being a product of a blended family, heal from that and create something different for themselves? And how would you advise someone who may be approached with having a blended family kind of navigate that? So that's my question. And thank you guys again so much. I hope I get picked, and I can't wait to talk one-on-one with you.
Hi.
How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for doing this with me.
The question that I put submitted was about blended families. So, it's definitely a deep scar for myself.
Mhm.
I'm a product of a blended family, and so I just saw how the experience of having to choose, between two different families, being torn in the middle, and making such tough decisions as a child when I wasn't equipped to do that at that age really traumatized me
Yeah.
and really made me grow up, I would say, incomplete because
Mm.
I don't know half of my family. There was one half I was really strong with and grew up with, and the other half I have really no identity with. And so I think it was a product of my parents, frustration for reasonable, reasons. And they didn't really, I guess, have all the tools to blend the two different families. So now I'm in a position where this topic has come up in my life in a interesting way. And I'm like, how do I now create something new or
Yeah.
different that I didn't experience? I'm a product of this environment, and we don't realize that as a product, those behaviors and tactics and ways about us, it comes up when we're pushed against the wall and when we're back in that same place of hurt. And so now I want to heal that deep scar that I buried and create something new. And I don't know how to do
Okay,
that.
so there's a few layers there. What hurts you the most about being in a blended family?
I think the I think just the battle between the two families,
Mm-hmm.
you know, which side to be on, I think that hurt me the most because when it came down to be joined together at my father's passing at his funeral, we weren't able to do that, you know, and a part of me was like this is my dad's funeral. Like, why can't we just get along? But then I realized, but we've never gotten along, so why would we start now? So I think that definitely hurt me the most.
Like, what were the things that you needed to hear in those moments that would have made it easier for you?
I guess that I'm accepted, you know, that I'm loved by both worlds, and that no matter what the differences were, because no family is perfect, that I could be safe, you know, and I didn't always feel safe because of the war that existed. So it was like we always had, you know, our battle gear on to, you know, prepare for what was going to come our way. And so I didn't really get those words of validation or affirmation to make me feel safe and accepted from both sides.
Do you feel like you feel safe now in your
I've learned to be
relationship?
safe. In my relationship, I do. I feel very safe. And it's a little weird.
Yeah.
A little weird. So I'm trying to not have, you know, this battle gear on, like I'm going to war and I'm always going to be, you know, attacked, not to be so defensive. Like I have to protect myself and be able to be safe and actually walk in that safety and covering and be okay in that, you know, be confident in that.
And so, how old is the child of the person you're dating now, or children of the person you're dating now?
One is 6 and one is 3.
Okay, so those are some formative years. And what's your
hmm
relationship like with them?
So we're still, you know, getting used to that dynamic.
Sure.
But when I did meet them, it was a very natural connection. It was, you know, not super awkward. Of course, you have those moments like,
Yeah.
okay. But it was very, you know, easy. I think they liked me, I hope. And it was just very natural. Yeah.
Okay, there's a lot of things I want to tell you. So, one of the things that my husband and I did when we were blending our family is that we literally talked about what we wanted that blend to look like. What
hmm
role are you going to play? When it comes to discipline, you know what I mean? What are your beliefs here? When it comes to maybe I see something and you're not there, how do you want me to handle that? Do you want me to just send it to you and tell you about it later and then you're able to talk to them? Do you want me to speak to them about it? Like to really understand what parenting looks like. I think for you and your spouse to have an understanding about that is like really important. And then when possible, to bring that co-parent into that understanding is important too.
hmm
So I've been fortunate to have a really mature co-parent too. So like when my husband's father died, like we were able to get in a group message and say, this is what happened. This is how we want to respond, so that we were leading the children through whatever was happening. And we were able to kind of have a unified front. But I'll tell you, one of the things that I really felt like made the biggest difference for me when blending a family, and this is, I'm even going to use a separate example from the family that I am in now. So when I was in my previous marriage, my husband at that time got someone pregnant and I hated her guts. Okay. I hated her guts, but I couldn't let her win. I was not going to let her win this situation. Okay. So obviously that same toxic is about you and the woman and not you and the man, or why you're in that relationship. Like I was full fledged into that. And I was like, she was like, didn't want me to come to the hospital. I was like, sis, wherever he is, that's where I'm going to be. You might as well gear up. I'll be holding your legs
Right.
when you say push, because that's how far. Okay. Like just petty. Okay. Like, petty. Okay. But I was full fledged in. And so I was trying to like going to force this blended family that made her come into alignment with me being the boss and like running things. And I came to this point where I just got so exhausted having a power struggle with her. I think what we see happening in the breakdowns of blended family is a power struggle. And what we're trying to figure out is who is in control. How are things led? You know, when a blended family breaks up, there's a difference in belief there. And that difference in belief shows up. Now I can set up my own beliefs. And now that I have my own beliefs that are at war with your beliefs, we have two separate worlds going on here. And that's why children are always caught in the middle of this power struggle. I got tired of fighting for power, and I just decided I wanted to lead in love. I just want to lead in love. Like, so I stopped being petty and I just started like buying baby clothes for this woman who was pregnant. And anytime I would start feeling like hate or anger or fear or whatever, I would just start like buying baby clothes for the baby, setting things up. And I came, and the baby's like due on my birthday. Like it was all kinds of just like mess attached to it. And so I just started trying to find a way to love. And so that relationship obviously didn't work out. And so when I was looking to marry my husband again, one of the things that I really wanted to be intentional about was like how we blend this family. And I didn't want to do it in this place where I'm like, okay, well, I'm the wife now and I came from Texas. And so he's going to have to really cater to me because I don't have no family here and I don't want you in my space. Like there were all of these different thought patterns about how a woman is supposed to be in a blended family that I had to resist because I feel like a lot of them are like things we see on TV that aren't necessarily healthy but make great television, and really decided that like we have one common goal, and that is to raise these children to be happy, healthy, and whole. That's really what we want. That when we're in those power struggles as a blended family, we're thinking about a moment. We're thinking about Christmas. We're thinking about Thanksgiving. We're thinking about how the birthday party is going to happen. We're not thinking about the end goal. So with you, we're going to reverse engineer. What is the end goal? Does everyone in the picture agree on what that end goal is? Okay, so who do we have to become in order to get to that end goal? So when it's time for the birthday parties and it's like, well, she wants to have the race car thing and we want to go bowling. Like what really matters here is that the child is celebrated. It's not about this moment. And so it requires a lot of patience. It requires a lot of maturity, and it requires you to constantly not allow your pride to get in the way so that you can love. So having a vision between you and your partner about what this is going to be and the role that you guys are going to play in it. I think it's great. I always tell women who are in blended family situations that like it's really important that the man has clear boundaries with the co-parent, because when you come into the picture, if there's this increase in boundaries that like weren't there before, like, you know, that can make you an enemy in the situation. But when that person already has it together, there are already boundaries, there's already communication, like we're not flirting, we're not like side-eyeing, like this is a mature separation. It makes blending the family so much easier. And to be honest, I'd really advise against someone being in a relationship with someone who doesn't have those clear boundaries yet, because you don't want those clear boundaries to be a result of you all being together, but a result of the decision that he has made about the relationship, so that when you come in, you aren't pushed as the enemy because of something that he wasn't able to do.